Alrighty, guys, welcome to the latest WWE results for the rest of the universe. As we're going to take a look at the recent pay-per-view event Survivor Series for this year, where this is basically a war between Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. All three brands are finally going to go at war against each other during this year's Survivor Series event. And the first thing that came on board was the obviously the cross-brand tag team battle royal, where they brought tag teams from both Raw, SmackDown, and NXT to participate in this battle royal, and it led to Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, representing SmackDown, winning the cross-brand tag team battle royal. So this was the first win for SmackDown at Survivor Series. Then we would have another kickoff match where we would see the NXT Cruiserweight Championship being put on the line as Lio Rush would take on Kalisto and Asuka and Torrin to battle for the Cruiserweight Championship, and Lio Rush continues his reign as the NXT Cruiserweight Champion at the Survivor Series. Then we would eventually see the war between the tag team champions, where we would see Raw tag champions, the Viking Raiders, taking on NXT tag champions, the Undisputed Era, and the SmackDown tag champions, the New Day, and the Viking Raiders would beat the Undisputed Era and the New Day to be the superior tag team champions, as Raw would take the win for the triple threat champion versus champion non-title tag team battle. Then we would see the women's Survivor Series match for this year, which we would have Team Raw, Team SmackDown, and Team NXT, which obviously Sasha was leading Team SmackDown, Charlotte Flair was leading Team Raw, and Ruby Lynn would lead Team NXT. And luckily, lo and behold, the NXT women would dominate the SmackDown and Raw teams and end up becoming the survivors for the women's tag Survivor Series match. So yes, the NXT would end up getting their first win against Raw and SmackDown of the night. Then we would have another win for. Then of course we have another match where we would see champion versus champion, where we'd see the NXT North America champion Roderick Strong from Undisputed Era facing off against US champion AJ Styles and Intercontinental champion Shinsuke Nakamura, which led to Roderick Strong beating both AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura to prove that he's the better champion out of the US Intercontinental and the Intercontinental champions. So another win for NXT. Then we would see Adam Cole finally, for the first time, defend the NXT Championship on a WWE pay-per-view to take on Pete Dunne. And Adam Cole would defeat Pete Dunne to remain the NXT Champion during Survivor Series. Then we would see the Universal Championship match where Bray Wyatt would take on Daniel Bryan, and Bray Wyatt would defeat Daniel Bryan to remain Universal Champion at the Survivor Series. Then we would have the men's Survivor Series matchup where Roman Reigns was leading SmackDown, Seth Rollins was leading Raw, and leading the NXT to battle. Well, leading the NXT was Tommaso Ciampa, who is the leader for Team NXT. So yes, it was a. They were pretty much leading the team, and eventually that would, and of course Matt Riddle would also have a chance to participate in the Survivor Series match, but it led to Roman Reigns succeeding for Team SmackDown and becoming the survivor for Team SmackDown. So Team SmackDown would win the men's Battle Royal and win the men's Survivor Series match, overcoming Walter as well as, well, because of course overcoming Walter, Tommaso Ciampa, and many other members of the Team NXT, as well as Raw as well. Then we would eventually lead ourselves to the next battle for during Survivor Series where Brock Lesnar would take on Rey Mysterio for the WWE Championship in a no holds barred, no DQ matchup. And Brock, as Rey Mysterio was hoping to win, it led to Brock Lesnar remaining champion by beating Rey Mysterio, and he remains the WWE champion for Raw. And then eventually the main event would be the Triple Threat Women's Champions battle, where we would see Sonya Blaze representing NXT, Becky Lynch representing Raw, and Bayley representing SmackDown. And eventually Sonya Blaze would obviously overcome Becky Lynch and Bayley to be the women's champion who survived at Survivor Series. So for the Lord of the Hall, it looks as though NXT had the most wins, with obviously NXT had 3 wins under their belt for this year, whereas SmackDown would have 2 wins, and Raw would also have, and Raw just basically got 1 win this year. So NXT dominated the most during Survivor Series, which is quite telling given the fact that given the fact that they're quite a dominating brand, to say for the least. So this was kind of a given that they were going to dominate in some capacity. So anyway, that is pretty much what went down at this year's Survivor Series for 2019, as the war between Raw, SmackDown, and NXT imploded during the show. But like I said, and of course the next event will be, of course, TLC, and they also got the Tribute to the Troops event coming up, which will be happening which of course itself will be happening in December, when they which will be quite interesting. But anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys when we discuss TLC and the Tribute to the Troops for this year. So see you then.